Let us start with the next topic, that is restriction on the appointment of the managing directors. Number of companies of which one person may be appointed director. A person cannot become a managing director in more than two companies. A public company or a private company which is the subsidiary of a public company shall not appoint any person as the managing director if he is either the managing director or the manager of any other company, including a private company which is not a subsidiary of a public company. But such an appointment can be made if the board of directors of such a company approves of the appointment by unanimous resolution passed at the meeting. In this case, a specific notice of the meeting is necessary, and the notice regarding the proposed resolution should not have been given to all the directors then in India. So, a person can be a managing director in more than two companies, and in public or a private company which is a subsidiary of a public company, they cannot appoint a person as the managing director. So, we can understand that the managing director of any company, including a private company, shall not be a subsidiary of a public company. But such an appointment can be made if the board of directors of the company, the board of directors of such company approve the appointment by unanimous resolution in the board meeting. In this case, a specific notice of the meeting is necessary, and the notice regarding the proposed resolution should have been given to all the directors. Directors. Then given to all the directors then in India. The company may appoint or employ a person as its managing director if he is the managing director or manager of one and of not more than one company, and such appointment or employment is made or approved by a resolution passed at a meeting of the board with the consent of all the directors present at the meeting, and of which meeting and of the resolution to be moved there, and specific notice has been given to all the directors then in India, section 203 and its provisions. So a person can be appointed as a director if can be appointed as a managing director if all the directors those are present at the board meeting, and a specific resolution is passed, and there is no threat to the company. Disqualifications for the appointment of a managing or a whole-time director or manager. A company cannot appoint or employ or continue the appointment of or employment of any person at its managing or whole-time director or manager who suffers from any of the following disqualifications. If he is below the age of 21 years or has attained the age of 70 years, provided that the appointment of a person who has attended the meeting of 70 years may be made by passing a special resolution, in which case the explanatory statement annexed to the notice for such a motion shall indicate the justification for appointing such a person. If he is an undercharged insolvent or has at any time been adjudged as an insolvent, if he has at any time suspended payment to his creditors or has at any time made a composition with them, or if he has at any time been convicted by a court of an offence and sentenced for a period of more than 6 months. The other disqualifications mentioned in section 164 applicable to the directors are also applicable to the managing or whole-time director. So, disqualifications under appointment of managing director or whole-time director. If he is below the age of 21 years or if he has attained the age of 70 years, Even he can be appointed as again, even if he has attained the age of 70 years, with passing a special resolution with the explanatory statement that why we are appointing that person. Then if he is undercharged or has been declared insolvent, or if he at any time suspended payment to his creditors, or makes or has at any time made composition with them, or he has been convicted by the court or of offence and has been sentenced for a period of more than 6 months. The other disqualifications are mentioned according to section 160. Disqualification of managing director or whole-time director or manager under schedule 5. The disqualifications of the manager are similar to that of the managing director or whole-time director, which are already discussed here in above. Moreover, a person who does not satisfy the conditions of Schedule 5 cannot be appointed as managing director or whole-time director or manager of the company. The points are summarized below. For the purpose of understanding the conditions required for the appointment of such managerial person as given in Schedule 5. Schedule 5 conditions to be fulfilled for the appointment of a managing director or whole-time director or a manager, herein referred as a managerial person without the approval of the central government. Part 1. Appointments. No person shall be eligible for appointment as a managing or a whole-time director as a manager, herein referred as managerial person of a company, unless he satisfies the following conditions, namely, first, he had not been sentenced to imprisonment for any period or to pay fine exceeding 1000 rupees for the conviction of an offence under any of the following acts, namely the Indian Stamp Act, the Central Excise Act 1944, the Industries Development and Regulation Act 1951, the Prevention of Food Adulteration Act 1954, the Essential Commodities Act 1955, the Companies Act 2013, the Securities Contract Regulation Act 1956, the Wealth Tax Act 1957, the Income Tax Act 1961, the Customs Act 1962, the Competition Act 2002, the Foreign Exchange Management Act 1999, the Sikh Industrial Company Special Provisions Act 1985, the Securities and Exchange Board of India Act 1992, the Foreign Trade Development and Regulation Act 1922, the Prevention of Money Laundering Act 2002. So these are the few acts which are being specified, and the person who is going to be appointed as a managing or a whole-time director of the company, he shall not be sentenced to imprisonment, or he shall not be convicted under any of the below given acts. B. He had not been detained for any period under the Conservation of Foreign Exchange and Prevention of Smuggling Activities under Act 1974. Provided that where the central government has given its approval to the appointment of any person convicted or detained under subparagraph A or subparagraph B, as the case may be, no further approval of the central government shall be necessary for the subsequent appointment of that person if he had not been so convicted or detained subsequent to such an approval. C. He has completed the age of 21 years and has not attained the age of 70 years. Provided that where he has attained the age of 70 years and where his appointment is approved by a special resolution passed by the company in general meeting, no further approval of the central government shall be necessary for such appointment. So he shall not be detained for any period under the Smuggling Act or smuggling activities. Then he shall be completed 21 years of age and shall not be attained 70 years of age. In case he has attained 70 years of age, he shall see to it that a special resolution is passed in the company for his appointment. Then where he is a managerial person in more than one company, he draws remuneration from more than one or more companies, subject to the ceiling provided in section 5 of part 2. He is a resident of India. He is not the resident of India. Then next, Explanation. For the purpose of the schedule, a resident in India includes a person who has been staying in India for a continuous period of not less than 12 months immediately preceding the date of his appointment as a managerial person, and who has come to stay in India for taking up employment in India or for carrying on a business or vacation in India. Explanation 2. This condition shall not apply to the companies in special economic zones as notified by the Department of Commerce from time to time, provided that a person being a non-resident in India shall enter India after obtaining a proper employment visa for the concerned Indian mission abroad. For this purpose, such a person shall be required to furnish, along with the visa application form, profile of the company, the principal employer, and the terms and conditions of such person's appointment. So, for a person who is not staying in India, if he wants to come and work in India, or if he has something in India, then in that case he has to see to it that he provides the following data, whatever is required by the Indian embassies. Compensation for loss of office. Compensation for loss of office or consideration for retirement from office may be given by a company to a managing director or whole-time director or manager. No such compensation is payable to any director. Such compensation is not payable if the director resigns from his office as a result of reconstruction, amalgamation of a company, and when the director is proved to be guilty or fraud or breach of trust or of gross negligence while conducting the affairs of the company. Amount of compensation. The amount of compensation shall not exceed the remuneration which the managing director or other director would have earned if he had been in office for the unexpired residue of his term, or for 3 years, whichever is shorter. Section 318 of the Act does not prohibit the payment to a managing director or whole-time director or a manager of any remuneration for services rendered by him in any other capacity, that is, any capacity other than as a managing director or whole-time director or manager. Compensation for loss of office not payable in certain circumstances. No compensation for loss of office is payable to a managing director or a whole-time director or a manager who is the director or in the following cases, namely, that the director resigns from his office as a result of the reconstruction of the company or of its amalgamation with any other body corporate or bodies corporate and is appointed as the managing or the whole-time director, manager, or the other officer of the reconstructed company or of the body corporate resulting from amalgamations. So compensation of loss is of office not payable in certain circumstances. So what are the certain circumstances? If he resigns from his office as a result of the reconstruction of the company, then if there is amalgamation of the company or the company is being reconstructed or body corporate are resulting in the form of the amalgamation, so in that case no compensation of loss of office is payable. Where the director resigns from his office otherwise then on the reconstruction of the company or its amalgamation as aforesaid, where the office of the director is vacated under subsection 1 of section 167, where the company is being wound up whether by an order of tribunal or voluntarily provided the winding up was due to the negligence or default of the director, where the director has been guilty of fraud or breach of trust in relation to or of gross negligence or in gross mismanagement or of the conduct of the affairs of the company or any subsidiary company or holding company thereof, and where the director has instigated or has taken part directly or indirectly in bringing out the termination of his office. So these are the few reasons where compensation shall not be payable to the managing directors. Now next we have whether a managing director is an employee of the company. The status of a managing director can be determined by the articles and the agreement between the company and the managing director relating to his appointment. he is a director and he derives his status as a managing director by his appointment by the board of directors. A managing director occupies a dual capacity of being a director as well as an employee of the company. A managing director performs the duties over and above the duties of an ordinary director and therefore can as well be treated as employee. ESI Corporation versus Apex Engineering A Limited 1998. Now, if he is the status is determined by the articles of association and by the agreement between the company and the managing director. Now, tenure of appointment of managing director or whole-time director. Term of office. A managing director or a whole-time director or manager can be appointed for a period of up to 5 years at a time. However, reappointment, re-employment or extension of the term of office of such a person for the period of 5 years at a time is possible, but any such reappointment, re-employment or extension shall not be sanctioned earlier than 1 year before the expiry of his term under section 196(2). Now, he shall be appointed for a period of 5 years. However, he shall be eligible for reappointment, re-employment or extension of his office, and the further period shall be another 5 years. Now, distinction between managing director and manager. Firstly, mode of appointment. A person cannot be appointed as a managing director without being a director, whereas a manager may or may not be a director. Powers of management. A managing director is entrusted with substantial powers of the management. A manager is vested with the management of the whole or substantially the affairs of the company. Number. There can be 2 or more managing directors at a time in a company. Each will be in charge of only a division or activity of the business. A company cannot have more than one manager. Then appointment. A managing director is appointed either under an agreement or by an resolution of the board or general meeting or under the provisions of the articles. A manager is generally appointed under a contract of service or by the board of directors though there can be a provision in articles with regard to his appointment. Vacation of office. Managing director ceases to hold his office the moment he ceases to be a director. A manager can continue to be a manager even if he ceases to be a director. So this is the difference between a managing director and a manager. Now let us try to understand about managing director and full-time director. What is the difference? A managing director means a director who is entrusted with substantial powers of the management which would not be otherwise exercisable by him. As per section 294, whole-time director includes a director who is a whole-time employed in the company. He may not be given substantial powers of the management such as to decide the policy matters. Tenure. A managing director can be appointed for a maximum period of 5 years at a time. There is no such provision which restricts the duration of appointment of a whole-time director. Directorship in one or more companies. A person can be a managing director of 2 or more companies under certain circumstances. A person cannot act as a director or a whole-time director in more than one company. Combination of managerial persons. A managing director and a manager cannot exist simultaneously in a company. A whole-time director may be appointed along with a managing director or a manager. Approval of the shareholders. A managing director need not necessarily be appointed with the consent of the shareholders. The appointment of a whole-time director requires the approval of the shareholders through the passing of a special resolution. So with this we can understand that whole-time director being in whole-time employment with one company, he cannot divert himself to other companies. But a managing director can be in director in 2 or more companies under certain circumstances which shall be mentioned in the articles of the company. Now next, after this we shall be starting with powers and functions of KMP. Now which all people are considered as KMP, that is key managerial personnel under the Act. The key managerial personnel such as CEO or managing director or manager, the company secretary, the whole-time director, the chief financial officer, and such other officer as may be prescribed are expected to work for a company. Their basic function is to take control over the day-to-day affairs of the company. The managing director, manager are generally appointed to control the routine operations of the company. They have to work under the overall supervision and control of the board of directors. Such officers will have to exercise the authorities which are delegated to them by the board of directors or under articles of association or by a resolution in the general meeting. The managing director acquires his powers either by an agreement with the company or through a resolution in the general meeting or by resolution of the board or a resolution in the general meeting by resolution of the board or by virtue of articles of the company. Section 254 of the Act expects that the MD should have substantial powers of the management of affairs of the company. He has implied authority to bind the company. He has to exercise his powers subject to the superintendent control and direction of the board of directors. The managing director cannot exercise powers that are exercised only by a board or a general meeting. Role of a managing director is in a dual capacity. He is an agent of the company. At the same time, he can also work as the employee of the company. So this was a small introduction about the key managerial personnel. So now in the next class we should be studying about the company secretary. That is the first key managerial personnel which we have in our syllabus. So let us continue further in the next class.